In this video, I'm going to show you 7 different models, structures and systems that when applied will enable you to score over 90% in your Police Recruitment Online Assessment Centre written exercise or in your Police Service of Northern Ireland written exercise. And 5 of these structures and models and systems you will not find anywhere else. If you Google them, it actually might point to a blog of mine or a video of mine on YouTube. They've been designed by me, myself, my team over the past more than several years based on our experience of neighbourhood policing. I was a neighbourhood inspector for 7 years. So any exercises which are designed by the College of Policing or Police Service of Northern Ireland to test your ability to deal with community-related issues, whether it be crime or antisocial behaviour, is exactly my bag. Because of the systems, processes and models that we introduced, we reduced crime, we increased confidence in the police by members of the community. We had Prime Minister, Home Secretary, Policing Minister come and see us. I got to work with the European Union on a huge project in Central and Eastern Europe, enabling their policing teams to improve their ability to deliver on neighbourhood policing. So there's a lot of experience that goes into this. It's not just something that's going to help you pass this, it's something that's going to help you in your career as a police officer. I know this works because I've done it operationally. So what else have we achieved? Well, I don't think I've introduced myself yet, have I? My name is Brendan from Blue Light, and over the past 31 years, I've been supporting and helping people for promotion boards, specialist interviews, police recruitment process with an amazing success. If you check the Trustpilot reviews, you'll see also that I've got a bigger team around me of coaches who've got equal experience, actually more experience and often more capable as coaches than I am, and we produce incredible results. Let's dive in with the first model from our guide, which you'll find in our academy program, and it's the Sara model. This one underpins all problem solving. We've actually introduced a few more layers to it, but there's 4 different layers to it. The first one is scanning, where we gather information and intelligence about the actual problem itself so we can actually define it. If you can't define the problem, then you're going to struggle to start addressing it. The next stage is analysis, A for analysis. This is where we're going to analyze the information that we have with partner agencies and members of the community if we can, so that we can identify not just the causes of the problems, but the causes of the causes. Then we're going to start thinking about some kind of response, and we're going to look at more than enforcement as a response. That comes next. And the final A stands for assessment. We're going to assess what we do to ensure that we actually do meet the aims of the problem solving, that we actually solve the problem, or if it's complex, we actually just reduce the impact on communities and victims. So that's the first model. The second model is one you won't find anywhere else. This one is TEPAC. TEPAC is TEPAC. The E stands for enforcement. So whenever you're doing any kind of enforcement, you do one activity that's going to help build up trust in the community. The P stands for prevention, so we're also going to do at least one thing that's going to prevent the thing that you're enforcing from happening again. Otherwise, you'll just deal with the same things week in, year out. The A stands for advocacy. What are you going to do to be an advocate for the community, for the victims, and more importantly, the suspects, who are some of the most vulnerable people in society, to help steer them away from their life of crime. And the C stands for communication, communication, communication. We are going to communicate everything that we do via all the different means. I'll come to the wagon wheel of social media later on. We're going to communicate, so everyone knows what we're doing and why we're doing it. And again, that loops around to building up trust. Makes sense so far? Let's move on. I mean, there's a lot here. I can't go through it all, but next we're up to the next one. This is one you will find elsewhere. It's the problem analysis triangle. So when we're doing that analysis, we want to look at the problem from 3 different directions, the points of the triangle. The first one is the offender. So what characteristics of the offender make them offend? The location. What is it about the location? Is it lack of CCTV, a lack of lighting, a lack of visible guardianship that's making that location popular with offenders? And then victim. What is it about the victims that are making them attractive to the offenders? So when we look at things like that, it helps again systemize the way we analyze the information. By the way, when you introduce all of these things, this is why you're going to get 90+%. So moving on, let's just move on now. through this quite big document. Number 4. There we go. Number 4. This is about having a higher standard that you're going to set on behalf of the community. So I used to hear people say things like, yeah, but it's Offerton, or yeah, but it's Central Manchester, yeah, but it's Stretford, yeah, but it's Sale Moor, all the places I've been a inspector in. And I used to think, well, you're just excusing poor behaviour because it's always been like that. And you'd hear people saying, yeah, but it's always been like that. Well, it's always been like that because no one's ever set a higher standard. So when you see the broken furniture, street furniture, when you see the damaged phone box, when you see the graffiti, you walk past it. You just accepted that as a standard. So the standard you walk past is the standard you're prepared to accept and the standard you've just become. So you've just become that standard on behalf of the community. If you don't care, why should they? So this was a little game I played with my officers. Whenever I saw anything that was damaged, unacceptable, and the test was the Knutsford test. I used to live near Knutsford. This is where there was a Bentley garage, a Rolls-Royce garage. All the Manchester United players used to live there. You get the sort of place. It's really nice. We lived in the cheap seats. And that was the test. If the behaviour or the results of the behaviour would not be acceptable in Knutsford, why are they acceptable here? And that was the standard. And you can't argue with that one. You just can't argue with it. So whenever I saw anything that I thought was unacceptable or I witnessed it and couldn't take a picture of it, I just drop a line to the PCSOs or the constable for that area and say, I'm sure you're aware of this. What's the cunning plan? And if I spotted it before they did, well, we didn't have problems. I was just like, hey, I spotted this before you. Why are you not on top of this? And they'd sometimes say, well, it's not our responsibility. It's a phone box. It's the responsibility of British Telecom or whoever. It doesn't matter. Any door's the right door, as long as it's getting dealt with. So I don't care who takes responsibility for it, because that's the other trap. Oh, bus stops, that's not our responsibility. Oh, it's the parks, it's the council who are responsible for it. Oh, it's the grass verge, it's highways. I was beyond all of that. Like, the community don't care. They just want it dealing with. They're not interested in whose responsibility it is. Someone needs to be accountable, yes, but also someone needs to be responsible for getting things done. So I'm not suggesting that the police go out with a dustpan and brush. I'm suggesting that they know who to call to get a dustpan and brush out there. Make sense? Awesome. Next one, number 5. You won't find this anywhere else. Actually, all the ones after this, you won't find anywhere else. This is where we're looking for people who have the 4 C's. So we're talking about working with communities, but who in communities are we going to work with? How are we going to identify those people? Oh, we're going to go for community leaders, are we? Well, what, local councillors? Well, that's a given. They're part of your partnership. Which community leaders are we going to go for? Often we go for the ones who aren't the self-proclaimed ones. I was always looking for people who are capable, connected, they care enough to act, and if given the opportunity to do so, will commit to take action. So people who are capable people, well connected in the community, they care enough to act, and if given the opportunity to do so, will commit to take action in the community. So these are just people who've never considered themselves as leaders, but they're the ones who set up the cheerleading squad, the football team, the group for elderly people to ensure that they don't feel lonely, the walking club, the club, and this one is not a club but an organisation, and this is one I helped off the ground, that would go and visit people in prison so that when they got released at the prison gate with no one to greet them, they would have someone to greet them and welcome them back into the community as a citizen, as opposed to just going out there and reoffending. So we did a lot of cool stuff around that, but like I said, you've got to look for the people that have the 4 C's, and it's so important. Once you've got those people, you can build an army of caring people who just get things done. All right, number 6 is all about enforcement. We don't just go straight into enforcement. We use the 4 E's, and I think this is something that we sort of borrowed a little bit from the world of COVID. We engage with people. First of all, we explain. We encourage them not to commit whatever crime it is, and only as a last resort do we go for enforcement. And even then, for the purposes of this, we're going to look at out-of-court disposals, so we're not criminalising young people. And let's move on. A lot more documentation there. By the way, if you're thinking, where do I get that documentation from? It's available to you if you're in our Academy program. Our Academy program is where we work with you one-to-one, small group webinars, all the recordings of webinars. There's like 4 years worth now, 5 years worth now. Tons of online material, several different coaches to work with, and a guarantee of a pass. If you don't pass, you get a refund. So can't say fairer than that, can we? That's how confident we are that we can get you scores like this. You got to do the hard work, by the way. It's not like osmosis. There's no magic wand. You've got to do the hard work. We'll show you the way. That's the deal. All right. If you want to find out more about that, then there's a link below. There's a link below in the blurb. Number 7, communications. We call this the wagon wheel of social media. So if you imagine a wagon wheel and it's got all of these spokes that come out from the center, think of all the different types of social media as those spokes. So you don't want to be just communicating via Facebook or a newsletter. We're going to be thinking about the different forms of communication that we can utilize. And often people get a bit confused and they think, oh, we'll put something in the newspaper. Newspapers are great, but we've got online equivalents of that now that have far greater reach and far more immediate reach. So think YouTube, think Instagram, blogs, podcasts, email, X, Zoom meetings, Facebook groups, WhatsApp, and more. Each one of those is a spoke on your wagon wheel of social media. Do as much of that as you possibly can. Actually, don't do as much of that as you possibly can, because here's another little trick that will get you more and more marks in your written exercise. We're going to enable other people to do it, because who do you think is going to be trusted the most in the community? You taking pictures of things that you're doing to make that community a safer place as a police officer, or a member of the community who is capable, connected, they care enough to act, and they're committing to take action. Someone who's known, liked, and trusted more than you by members of the community. And trust me on this, it takes years to build up that level of know, like, and trust. So they're known, they're liked, they're trusted in the community. They post it versus you posting it. Who's going to be more credible voice in that community? It's that one, isn't it? It's a member of the community. So we're going to do what we can to enable members of the community to tell the story of how they were involved in the thing that's going to make their community a better place. We're just enabling them. We're just enabling them. As opposed to public servants, we're seeing ourselves as community enablers, as citizen enablers. And this falls nicely into like the 8th model. It's not one I mentioned, actually. I did say 7, didn't I? But this is one that I can't lay claim to. This is one from Sir Robert Peel in 1829, the founder of the British Police Service, who said the police are the public and the public are the police. Now, we've heard that a lot, haven't we? But do you know the bit that comes next? I challenge most police officers, and they don't know this. It goes like this: the historic tradition that the police are the public and the public are the police. The police just being members of the public who are paid full time to carry out a role which is incumbent on all citizens in the interests of community welfare and existence. So he's saying that all police officers are members of the public. They're just paid full time to carry out a role which is actually incumbent on every citizen in the interests of community welfare and existence. Whew, that's powerful stuff. I used to have that on my wall next to my desk, and I'd look at that and think, this individual was a genius. He didn't talk about reducing crime. He didn't talk about getting the bad guys. He didn't talk about community safety. He talked about community welfare and existence. So he recognized that when you do all the things that I've just talked about and more, like this document just goes on and on and on. This is like the best of neighborhood policing. It's like 8 years of neighborhood policing and more experience condensed into something that's going to get you that. But if you think about it, an environment, a community that's got a great sense of welfare and existence is one where there's going to be less crime, there's going to be less mental health problems, less drug and alcohol problems, greater educational achievement, people are going to be happier. It's going to be more cohesive. And if you enable that, you're going to get amazing results. I know this because I've done it. I've been there. I've been and done that hard battle of tackling organised crime gangs and at the same time filling the void